Councillors, I might ask all those who wish to stand to the meeting prayer and call on Pastor Scott Dunlop to please come and deliver that prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Evening, everybody. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you as the Lord of heaven and earth and the sustainer of all things. Thank you for the prosperity and stability that you've given to Tamworth and for the great community and freedom that we enjoy. Please continue to have your hand upon us. And at this time, we particularly pray for good rains right throughout our district. We pray for our community leaders, that they will continue to build and strengthen our community, especially the councillors and staff of Tamworth Regional Council. Please give them great wisdom and unity, that every decision would be full of integrity and equity for the advancement of our region and community. And we ask all of these things in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Councillors, before I do open the meeting, I'll just also make mention that that our thoughts and prayers are with Councillor Impey with the loss of his mother in the last 24 hours. So he's going through a very tough time at this point in time. So, councillors, I'll declare the meeting open. I'll call for apologies and leave of absence. We have two. We have a request from Steve Mears to be absent tonight. He is away with work. And of course, as I just mentioned, Councillor Impey is away due to a death in his family. So I'd ask if someone could move that we accept those apologies. Councillor Sutherland, second to Councillor Brooke. All those in favour, say aye. Aye. Councillors, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's community consultation. Councillors, we have three to speak tonight, and I would firstly call on Judy Coates, ex-councillor Judy Coates, to please come to the podium and state the matter that you wish to speak to. And
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to speak on the formal partnership agreement between Tamworth Regional Council and the TACO. And I just want to start by saying I strongly support this proposed partnership. If my memory serves me correctly, this journey started about 3 years ago with a notice of motion by Councillor Sutherland in July 2022, where he called on Tamworth Regional Council to develop a closing the gap strategy and implementation plan. 2 years on from that, there was a second notice of motion by Councillor Sutherland for a recommended partnership through the signing of an MOU with the local TACO. This notice of motion was preceded by a visit in the previous month from the New South Wales Minister for Aboriginal Affairs and Treaty, where a formal MOU was signed between the New South Wales State Government and the local TACO. This was the first of its kind in New South Wales, and with an agreement between the local TACO and state government, it provided further impetus and the ideal opportunity for Tamworth Regional Council to investigate and consider entering into a formal partnership with the local TACO. These events, and obviously the associated collective work behind the scenes, has led to this proposed partnership agreement, which I believe will provide a framework to facilitate and support the development of a local closing the gap strategy that is both consultative and meaningful. A strategy that would include or advocate around targets for equity and health and wellbeing, inclusion, education, employment, housing and cultural preservation. A strategy that is both collaborative and community focused. It is important that this agreement has at its heart a shared commitment for real change that has meaning for everyone in the Tamworth region. And at its core should be an understanding and acceptance of the individual levels of responsibility and accountability for all stakeholders, underpinned by respectful and honest communication. For me as a non-Aboriginal person, I believe that this proposed partnership, as outlined so beautifully in the Mara Ngali statement, would offer a culturally safe platform for consultation with the Aboriginal community and the subsequent development of a shared commitment that delivers real, inclusive and transparent outcomes for the entire community. In my humble opinion, developing a strategy without input from the Aboriginal community would not enable or empower a genuine reflection of the needs and goals of the community. And reaching the community for that input can be associated with many barriers and challenges. However, through the TACO, Council will have access to the community and its leaders and be able to achieve a closing the gap strategy that is more culturally significant and appropriate for the Aboriginal people of our region. I was part of the previous two council meetings and present at the signing of the MOU between the TACO and the state government, and I'm excited and privileged to be present tonight and support this important next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I'll now call upon the second speaker tonight, Kathy Trindle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to acknowledge country and thank Mark for your kind words on behalf of our community who are grieving. And I'd like to also acknowledge the fellow members of TACO who are here this evening, members of the gallery, and also to all the councillors who are here this evening as well. I am Catherine Trindle. I'm a very proud Gomeroi Maritiana from northwestern New South Wales and live in Port Tamworth and the tongue of my home. So this evening it is both a pleasure and an honour to speak to the formal recommendation resolution 10.1. That in relation to the report formal partnership agreement between Tamworth Regional Council and Tamworth Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisations, TACO, Council 1 will enter into a formal partnership agreement with the Tamworth Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisations. 2, authorise the Mayor to sign the formal partnership agreement. And 3, commit to a joint ceremony to acknowledge and celebrate the signing of the partnership agreement. As a nominated and duly elected member of TACO and current chairperson of the Tamworth Aboriginal Medical Service Aboriginal Corporation, I wish to formally speak to and tender our united and unanimous support and endorsement of this historic resolution on behalf of the joint members of TACO. Our members look forward to leading, guiding and working in partnership with the Council. As we are aware, Closing the Gap acknowledges the ongoing strength and resilience of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in sustaining the world's oldest living cultures. It is underpinned by the belief that when we, as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, have a genuine say in the design and delivery of policies, programs and services that affect us, better life outcomes are achieved. It also recognises that structural change in the way government works with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is needed to close the gap. All Australian governments are working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and their communities, or our communities, organisations and our businesses to implement the new national agreement on closing the gap, state, territory and local levels. I encourage the members of the Tamworth Regional Council to move to accept and endorse the resolution. This will be historically setting an unprecedented and inaugural shift in the way governments have previously worked to close the gap from a national, state and government framework. This formal agreement acknowledges that to close the gap, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people must determine, drive, own the desired outcomes along all governments, and in particular here in Tamworth and locally. This new way of working requires governments to build on the strong foundations of the members of TACO and our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people through our deep connection to family, community and culture, by working together to transform government to do the things differently and not as business as usual. It will go towards enhancing a better working relationship with the Tamworth Regional Council and members of the Tamworth local Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, and will lead to open processes for dialogue and joint decision makers making decisions to be made. Therefore, I, Catherine Trindle, on behalf of the members of the Tamworth Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisations, recommend to the members of the Tamworth Regional Council to move and support the resolution put forward this evening, 10.1, and I'm also aware that each of you have also received the partnership agreement, and would encourage you to read it. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll go to the third speaker tonight, councillors, and that is Robin Bird. I'd like to invite him and speak about the matter.
Councillors and senior staff. I'm representing Tamworth Water Security Alliance, and we are very pleased that the New South Wales Government has released the proposed amendments to the Peel regulated river water sharing plan 2022. As the amendments will result in Tamworth, Moonbi and Katingal having 100% of our water set aside each year. Our alliance has been working towards this for some time, and this proposal is covered in item 8.3 in the business matters. At the moment, the allocations are given every 2 years, and Tamworth is given 100% of its allocations for year 1 and 70% of its allocations for year 2. Without this amendment, this pattern would occur every 2 years until 2032, when the next water sharing plan is due, i.e. we get 70% of our allowance every second year, regardless of climatic conditions. Having a full allocation each year means that our water supply will be secure in times of severe drought, such as the last one in 2016-17 to 2019-20, when we had really severe restrictions, which meant unflushed loops, you know, when it's yellow, let it mellow, and when it's brown, flush it down. We also had the stench of used shower water kept in containers in the bathroom to be used when necessary. It meant no vegetables, loss of shrubs and flowers, and that's probably of minor importance, but the major one was the loss of big mature trees, and I lost 2 of them in my yard, because the loss of trees in suburbia is important. We know we've got a heat island in the CBD. That report was done a couple of years ago, and we must not have heat islands in suburbia. So we need sufficient water to keep our large shade trees alive. Department modelling shows that the amendment will ensure that Tamworth will have won't have level 5 restrictions, and it would extend water supply in a severe drought for about 8 to 12 months. This amendment is permissible because it is in the public interest, and I urge all councillors to approve the recommendations of the Director of Waste and Water, Bruce Logan, in section 8.3. Our alliance is cognizant that these changes will result in about a 5.1 decrease in the general security allocation and a decrease of 40% in the environmental water allocation. The New South Wales Government has measures to mitigate this. One is by looking at the use of the unregulated water and other measures for the general security licence, and the other is permitting the environmental water allowance to carry over any unused water in a good year till the next year is up, and only up till a specified amount. We are aware that although this amendment will give us greater water security, the community will still need to improve our soil, make better selection of garden plants and trees, have better design of the built environment, and to create urban shade sanctuaries in our suburbs and villages. And TWSA will continue to advocate for these measures. The beauty of these amendments is that they are in the public interest, so they're permitted, and they are temporary. So these can be changed depending on when and, for example, how much water is produced by the recycling plant, and when there is a significant change in population. So in the public interest, Tamworth Water Security Alliance asks that members of TRC Council approve the recommendations in item 8.3.
Thank you, Robin. Councillors, that concludes community consultation, and we'll move on to item 3 on the agenda, the minutes from the previous meeting. Could I have somebody move their true and correct record, please? Councillor Lord, second to Councillor Budd. Any questions or comments about those minutes? I'll put it that those minutes are a true and correct record. All those in favour say aye and raise their hand. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, will now move on to item 4, disclosure of interest. Councillors, do we have anyone wishing to disclose any interest tonight? Councillor Lord.
I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in item 12.1 with regard to a lease. It's a training organisation that occasionally undertake training with.
You're going to stay in vote?
I'll stay in the room, but
Any other disclosures of interest? Being no others, we'll move on to item 5, Merrill Minute. There is no Merrill Minute. We'll move to item 6, Notice of Motion. There is no Notice of Motions. Councillors, we'll move into open council reports. First report being 7.1, proposed road name. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor Sharpen, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Sharpen, do you wish to speak to that?
That's right.
Any councillors wish to speak against the recommended names in that report? Any councillors wish to make further comment?
Thank you.
I will put the recommendation then. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Councillors will now move on to item 8.1. Local Traffic Committee. I'd like a mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Budd, second to Councillor Sharpen. Councillor Budd, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The 11 recommendations that you see, councillors, before you represent the great body of work by our Traffic Committee and indeed our traffic staff in conjunction with stakeholders. They provide support for events in our town, they provide safety at some of our intersections, and I commend the motion to you.
Councillors, anybody wish to speak against the recommendation of that report? Any further comments? Councillor Sutherland, do you have any comments? No further comments. Councillors, I'll put that report. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Raising your hand. Those against, carried unanimously. Councillors, will now move on to item 8.2. I'll move in the seconder. Move Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Sharpen. Councillor Sutherland, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. I'll just make a comment to say that it was great to see that the trial was a success. You know, the conversation to say that can we give greater access to our pools throughout summer and to trial it. I think the report talks about some of the financial impact, and I think one of the comments or one of the factors that's really hard to measure around the impact is the social impact. You know, the fact that there was a safe space, a cool space that the community could access. A lot of people who travelled around the region to access these facilities brought a lot of money into local shops and visited the main street, and that kind of collective impact, I think, is fantastic. One point I will make is that it's interesting to see the financial difference between the pools that are opened up outside of Tamworth. I think on average about $150 extra, and the pools located in Tamworth, which is about $950 extra. For the trial to move forward, I'm in complete support of moving beyond a trial, but just being implemented in future years. I think that we should really look at opening up the pools outside of Tamworth more frequently. I think that it's financially it's the best decision we can make, but also having routine in knowing that these spaces are open every weekend, that Manila Pool or Katingal Pool or whatever that is every second weekend or whatever the schedule might be, families can really plan for that and take an entire family to that space and enjoy the day. I know that we don't want to see people in Tamworth miss out from accessing these facilities, but I think that being able to ensure that the pools outside of Tamworth are opened up more frequently, I think really meets the goal to make sure that we can focus on economical tourism, on regional tourism, but also the best usage of public facilities. So I'm in full support that this moves beyond a trial and just implemented in for years to come.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation as printed? Anyone wish to make comment? Further comments? Councillor Bowe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to point out and congratulate the staff of our regional pools. It's no secret that we threw this on them pretty quickly with not a great deal of warning. There were some teething problems, but the staff are fantastic. They provided the facilities to our communities, and I've not heard a negative word about it. It's been fantastic. We know the councils across New South Wales have been sitting in the background watching what we do, and hopefully they'll take on board. Hopefully they'll take on board the learnings that we've had and the successes we've had, and we can continue in the future. So at a very minimum next year, we'll have six days plus Australia. So there's 7 days at a minimum. Let's hope we can develop it and make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Moore.
I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Budd and Councillor Sutherland for what was a great motion, a great idea, and I think it was a real winner. Had paid some great dividends, I think, and gave us a good structure to move forward for next year. We can learn from it, and I think I'm really looking forward to help plan the next year's model that we'll move forward with, and I think it's a great winner. Well done.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll move to item 8.3. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor Brook, seconded Councillor Sutherland. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I just want to say that I think this is a great first step into securing our water supply. So I enthusiastically support this potential change from the state government. Water is a common good, and making a full allocation to domestic use, as has historically been campaigned for by this council, makes sense to me. But as is highlighted in the report, this is only a short-term fix. If we're going to properly secure Tamworth's water, we need to develop non-rainfall dependent sources of water, in my opinion. And I would make the comment that this is going to be amplified, especially as climate change is making droughts longer and more frequent.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation? Any further comments on the recommendation? Further comments? Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, just to say fully in support of the recommendation. I know that as a council, as Councillor Councillor Brook, has said that we've been advocating for this change for a long time, and it's great to hear that Robin speak from the Tamworth Water Security Alliance really say that as a community, this is something that we're looking for, and this is a change that is welcomed with Tamworth Regional Council.
Further comments, Councillor? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I certainly also support this recommendation. I can remember many times during the last drought, and many people being bemused that the augmented Chaffey Dam could have been drained so quickly, and we didn't seem to get the benefit of that augmentation. And this goes a little way to actually delivering a bit of a dividend to the ratepayers and residents of our region. I'm certainly supportive of pipeline option. Obviously, state government will have to determine which option that would be, and I certainly am supportive of recycled purification. Obviously, not as a ongoing permanent thing. I think that should be a tool in our drought toolbox to be able to use. I realise that the justification for expenditure on that would probably suggest that a business case would probably suggest that we have to use it a lot more frequently than during drought time. But I think that the water out of that would be reasonably prohibitive, and I think that it would be unfair to send water down a river or pipeline for customers elsewhere where we couldn't get the benefit out of our own water storages. I had something else. I can't think of that at the moment, Mr Mayor, but anyway, certainly support this and hope that moving forward we can get some of those other options that will secure Tamworth's water future permanently.
Any further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I might just quickly add to what Councillor Rodder said, and that is, for quite a number of years now, not years that I can't count, this council, along with the community, have been fighting for more secure water. There are a number of options on the table for consideration at the moment that are being considered. None of them alone are a silver bullet, and this one in particular is not a silver bullet, but it certainly gives us more security than we had. So I certainly commend the recommendation, and I'm going to put that recommendation to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll move now straight on to item 8.4, Kirby Recycling. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Ryan Brook. Councillor Budd, you wish to speak to that?
I reserve the right, thanks, Mr.
Anyone wish to speak against that program? That recommendation? Anyone wish to make comment on that recommendation? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, that I really like the notion that we were recycling soft plastics, and certainly supported it. And I am an account holder, but since they've actually transitioned, I think their phone app and transitioned into website sort of app, it's gone a bit awry. And I think I'd like to think that they won't make it too onerous on residents wishing to recycle soft plastics, because the less we can keep out of landfill, the better. And if you look at what they can construct out of soft plastics, it's a myriad of items that they can construct out of plastics, and certainly being able to recycle it is something that I can completely support. But I just hope moving forward that they don't make it A, too onerous to access their service, and B, too expensive.
Thanks, Councillor Rodder. Further comments? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your hand. Aye. Carried unanimously. We move straight into governance, strategy and finance. We have item 9.1, introduction of policy for bank guarantees. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor North, seconded Councillor Sutherland. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
Still fine, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Anyone wish to make comment on that recommendation? There being no further comments, I'll put that recommendation to the councillors. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Raising their hand. Those against, carried unanimously. Councillors, will move to 9.2, Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Sharpen, seconded Councillor Budd. Councillor Sharpen, you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, just very briefly. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate the former Councillor Judy Coates, as she's in the room. She was on this committee. When I took it on, I didn't realise how much reading was involved. It is definitely very unsexy, but it's very interesting. And I'd like to also, I'm not sure if I can mention his name, but the chair is moving on. He's got a job somewhere else. So I'd also like to congratulate his hard work. And I could recommend the report.
Thank you for that. Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation as printed? Anyone wish to add any comments to the recommendation? Councillors, I'll put that recommendation. All in favour say aye. Raise your hands. Carried unanimously. We'll now move to 9.3, tender for legal services, a panel legal services. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor North, seconded Councillor Budd. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
No, it's all fine, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation as is printed? Anyone wish to make comment on that recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, just a question.
Yes.
So the pool, I assume that they all do different. They all specialise in different things, and that's why that's why we got the number there. And I noticed we got no locals. Did any locals?
Well, Councillor Rodder, there is a list of people in the commentary that where tender submissions were received. And, don't know, I might ask the General Manager or Karen maybe to make a comment on that. Do you have any comment on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there was a local solicitor working through Morgan and English, I believe, as part of their joint submission. However, when the panel assessed that, amongst others, it was determined that it didn't compete with the others.
Thank you.
That satisfy your question, councillor Roy?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any further comments? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. We'll move straight into item 9.4. Look for moving the seconder. Councillor Sutherland, your hand wants right. And seconded by Councillor Woodley. Councillor Sutherland.
Yes, please.
Wish to speak to that?
Yes, yes, please, Mr Mayor. I'm asking for the support of council to attend the Indigenous-led National Assembly, the review of Closing the Gap, on behalf of not only Tamworth Regional Council, but as a representative from New South Wales local government. Closing the Gap has been the national strategy in working with and supporting Aboriginal people since 2007. There is a national review that is taking place in Canberra. In 2020, I believe, the Australian local government became a signature to the national strategy. New South Wales local government have also become a signature. So as a stakeholder, there is an attempt to bring all stakeholders together for the national review. And this is an Indigenous-led review. And from that point of view, myself as a councillor, and it's a credit to us as a council for Tamworth Regional Council, invested in Closing the Gap thus far to be one of the 6 locations for a place-based partnership. And given the work that we've done so far, New South Wales local government need an Indigenous representative to sit at the Assembly. And I was honoured to get a phone call to be a part of that. One of the challenges for us here in New South Wales is that we don't have Indigenous communities as their own local government area, where other states do. And so by default, Queensland and Western Australia, those Aboriginal communities are their own LGAs. And so by default, those communities have an Indigenous council with Indigenous mayors. For us in New South Wales, we don't have that structure. And so for this report, I'm asking that I be given the authority to attend and be able to sit at that table with other counterparts from other state government, as well as members of CAPO, the federal government and state government. So all the costs that are associated with an attending the Assembly are covered by the Assembly itself. So it's not coming at a cost of council. It really is just asking for the authority to be able to sit at that table to be a part of the national review. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? No. Anyone further comments on the recommendation? Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The only person who didn't recognise in terms of worthiness, mate, is yourself on this, Councillor Sutherland. Once again, Tamworth find themselves on the national radar for the things that are trying to occur in this town. And as we get to item 10.1, we'll have some more good news. But congratulations to you. It's recognition for you, not only as a New South Wales person, but an Indigenous person, but someone in Australia who has the ability to go and represent community. And for that, I congratulate you.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Moore.
I'd just like to echo Councillor Budd's comments. I think it's a credit to the council that we're moving this way, but the leadership that Mark shows in helping us get there, we ought to be very proud that he's in our presence and has been invited to this symposium. This I think it's only means we're moving further and further forward and closing the gap.
Further comments, councillors? Before I put it to the vote, Councillor Sutherland, I'll certainly echo what the previous 2 speakers have said as well, and that we're very proud as a community, and I have to say as a mayor I'm very proud to have a councillor like yourself here doing what you're doing the hard work you're doing, and you've been recognised for somebody that of a high credibility. You've been asked to go down and represent the groups in New South Wales at Canberra. I think that's an absolute credit, and it's an absolute feather in your cap, but I consider it a feather in this council's cap. So keep doing the good work that you're doing, and congratulations. And councillors, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Councillors, we'll move from there on to 9.5. Code of meeting practice. Now, can I have a move and a second to Councillor Budd? You would like to move, seconded. Councillor Sharp and Councillor Budd, did you have a small amendment to make?
I'd like to move an amendment to that, Mr Mayor, if I could. Thank you. Councillors, as you know, this motion is all about allowing councillors who all have busy lives and have work commitments. That means we can't always attend. I think our attendance is pretty good in terms of percentage-wise, but there are those times, as tonight, when we find that our colleagues can't make it. So I have no issue with point 1 and point 2. I would suggest point 3 as an additional amendment to exclude attendance in the closed part of the meeting so that we can ensure security of the things we say in the closed meetings. If we are to, it's just too hard to police and to guarantee that the contents of those meetings will be seen to meant to us and be safe. So I think the amendment really is all about making sure that we can attend, but on those secure issues, we turn off until the meeting reopens.
Councillor Budd, can I just ask you, would you move the recommendation as printed with that third item, and I'll ask the second if he will accept that as being the recommendation?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'll move that as the amended motion.
Zara Willis, now the motion, it's not an amended motion. If you're happy to move that as a motion with those 3 points, the seconders happen to accept that. We'll now discuss that. We have discussed that. Do you want to speak any further on that?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Anyone wish to make comment on the recommendation? Councillor Brodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question. We did discuss this in a workshop in terms of what we might have wanted to, what we thought was relevant to the code of meeting practice that we could, obviously advise the department of the government that would like either included or excluded. Is that still going to be compiled and obviously go off to? Yeah, that's good. No, that'll be good then. Thank you.
Further comments, councillors? Councillors.
Very briefly, Mr Mayor, as you'd be aware, I was the first councillor in this term to be away, but I was very much willing and able to attend via audio-visual link, and we all live busy lives, being in a regional area. A couple of us here have jobs that do take us away, or businesses that take us away, and I think this will be a good way to make sure that we're representing the people who elected us and making sure we're part of the meetings.
Thanks, Councillor Sharp. And further comments, councillors? Being no further comments, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Councillors, we now move on to section 10, which is community services, and we'll talk about 10.1. Could I have a mover and a second? I move Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Brooks. Councillor Sutherland, do you wish to speak to that?
Certainly. Yes, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the speakers who came in support of the motion, because tonight we're not just voting on a partnership agreement. Tonight we're making history. You know, that for too long, as Aunt Kath mentioned, Aboriginal people have been sidelined when it comes to making decisions and sharing thoughts around what's best for community. Marangali partnership agreement changes that. You know, it enshrines Aboriginal voices within the decision-making process, and it makes sure that Aboriginal people have a say on the issues that impact them for us here across our local government. This is a real partnership, you know, based on trust, based on respect, based on shared decision-making. And we'll just touch on that idea of trust, that for this process to move forward, it involves a lot of trust from an Aboriginal point of view, from a local council. As we are the first local council in Australia to go through the process, and there's a lot of faith in what the process can look like moving forward, but we have to acknowledge that from an Aboriginal point of view, you know, the relationship between all tiers of government have been fractured over time. That there are members of our community today who still remember colour bands of local councils here across the northwest. Local councils were the biggest opposition of fringe camps that Aboriginal people lived in right across the northwest, and so the relationship hasn't always been great. This changes that in a meaningful way. Marangali is Gomeroi, that means our two hands. because, Mr Mayor, nothing works better in partnership than our own two hands. Yeah, not better or worse, both having their strengths but operating under a shared vision. Now, Murray takes Aboriginal culture and Aboriginal knowledge and centres that for us in what we're doing as a local government. I think that this partnership has come over some tremendous work. I need to acknowledge TACO, who are here in the room, and the members of TACO, who have worked really hard to be recognised as one of only 6 Commonwealth recognised locations here in Australia to deliver place-based solutions, the only in New South Wales. And so they've worked really hard to make sure that they can provide a clear governance framework that can advocate and work in the best interest of Aboriginal community. They're working on a community development plan that's really capturing all of that. So they've done a lot of hard work. And as we've heard, us as a council, we've been on this journey for a number of years. I want to make sure I acknowledge Gina and the staff that have had conversations, really pulled something together, which, looking at it on paper, is really clear that Murray can provide a framework for us to work together to deliver better outcomes of health, education, employment, economic and social impacts just across the board. What Murray hopes to achieve as a partnership agreement is aligning all 3 tiers of government to be able to work streamlessly to deliver better outcomes for our community. That alignment, I believe, will not only add a lot of value to our Aboriginal community-controlled organisations when they're applying for resources and their aspirations in the future, but it also makes sure that as a local council, we're acknowledging that closing the gap isn't a national strategy, it's a local priority. And for us as Tamworth Regional Council, we're putting it on the table. And it takes a lot of work for us as local government to make sure that we've done that in the right process. I'll just finish up by saying, Mr Mayor, that truly I believe that this partnership will save lives. It'll change lives for everybody across our region, because local government is the form of government that's closest to the people. And Aboriginal people make up over 13% of our population. There are almost 10,000 Aboriginal people living here in Tamworth, and this partnership says that we as a council are going to make a committed effort, committed approach, and really look at structural change that Art and Kath mentioned. It's more than symbolic, and I believe that this model will be used as a framework for other local councils. I think there are a lot of other local councils that are looking at us here in Tamworth and the work that are happening in community, and based on conversations we've had, Mr Mayor, and other councillors and other assemblies, there are a lot of eyes on Tamworth seeing if this can work and if this is the best way for it to work. To have the support from the community saying that we believe it is requires council to move into it. And so I would encourage all councillors to make sure that we can really get behind this as an approach and send a really strong message that for us as a community, this is in the best interest of us all. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillors, anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council, it's really hard to add more to what Mark said, other than to say this is really about how we move forward as a community, as a unified community, as a group of people that acknowledge all the things of the past, but then we think about how we're going to make this part of the future. And mate, again, it's a great night for accolades for you. This doesn't happen without your leadership and community. It's great to have TACO established. I wish I had it in my working career, because it would have made life so much easier to have a single focus point with community's message. So we can do nothing more than support this in every way we possibly can, and look forward to a brighter future. Thank you.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Rodder.
Question, Mr Mayor, in relation to financial implications, obviously stipulates that there are none in relation to obviously signing the partnership, but moving forward, it would require funding and and budget adoption. I am assuming that the Commonwealth and state governments would probably come to the party in that regard. Is that accurate to say? And support our council?
Councillor Rodder, I'll just make a couple of statements in reference to that, and at this point in time, there's no financial implications associated with this. Councillor Sutherland, in moving the motion, talked about other councils around the state looking at what we're doing and how it's going to work. I'll take that a step further, and I think both state and federal government are looking at how this is going to go, because it's a first. And I think because of that, if anybody's going to get any financial support when it's needed, it will be this council will get support with this TACO and this council to make this go forward in the right direction. So I believe, and I sincerely believe, that we will get financial support if it's required to make this work. And as I said in the recommendation, there's no specific financial implications, and I'm quite sure that moving into the future, that if there is some cost, we will get a lot of help with that.
So yes, great. As a council, I'd like us to address the issues that our community does experience, and I'm referring to parts of West Tamworth formerly known as Coaldale, because I do think that historically there's a talking about gaps. There's a big gap there, and I would like to think we could undertake actions within council's remit, and address the issues of the burnout homes, the squalor, the rubbish that's...
Point of order, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I think I understand that Councillor Rodder has some views on issues, and that's fine, but right here where we are right now, speaking about supporting this motion, I believe that the comments are unwarranted and not relevant.
I'll rule on that, Councillor. But I think they probably are a little bit unwarranted in respect to what we're trying to do here tonight. We're trying to bring a community together to work together to overcome some of those things that you're talking about.
What section and subsection are we referring to that I've breached in the Code of Meeting Practice, Mr Mayor?
I'll get a bit of advice there.
Perhaps I could expand, Mr Mayor. Perhaps I could expand a bit more, Mr Mayor. Without quoting subsections, the matter before council that we're speaking about is a motion on supporting a way forward for our community as a unified community, as one body of people. We don't need to go into discussing issues of society which we're aware of, which takes away the shine of this fantastic motion and this fantastic action. The comments are just unwarranted and they're irrelevant, and they don't go towards this motion. There's just commentary on the side, and I just submit, Mr Mayor, that it's inappropriate commentary.
Thanks, Councillor Both. Councillor Rodder, I might just step away from the point of order and just say, can we just confine our conversation to the item in the business paper?
Mr Mayor, at no time did I actually say I was opposed to this motion. I'm actually quite supportive of it. I actually just want us to get cracking on fixing the disparities that are in our community. That's why I actually said what I said. Wasn't to actually take the gloss off this. I'm quite supportive of it, and I'll be raising my hand in support of it too. I actually think it's actually pretty appalling that I can't actually say what the frustrations of our community are, and there is a big disparity, a big gap down there that I'd like to see addressed, and I hope that moving forward we can do that.
Thank you. We'll move forward on that. Councillors, any further comments?
Can I close? Or?
You can close the debate, Councillor.
Yeah, and thank you. And I understand that there's a bigger conversation to be had, which is what does this look like in action? I guess the intent of this whole process was to be able to create a local closing the gap strategy that's been developed by community for community that have the real tangible outcomes. The exact conversation that Councillor Roll is having, hopefully that can be translated into a an implementation plan with all 17 targeted areas under closing the gap identified, how council is a potential, or what role council has in all 17 of those actions, whether it's an advocacy piece, whether it's a partnership piece, a support, whether it's a deliverer. Across all 17 of those targeted areas, and I expect that those conversations will be had robustly, which will come back to council, which at a later date will obviously come with what potential financial cost or what budgets might be attached to that once that plan is created. For us, this is around tonight, understanding the way forward is about working in partnership. And the Murrungalli is around working in partnership between local council, Tamworth Regional Council and TACO, our Tamworth Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisations. And that's a partnership that is valued and worth investing in. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Fuddle, and that closes the debate. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour say right. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Carried. Councillor, is that actually formal end of open council? We'll move to 11, and before I call for a motion to move into closed council, I'll ask the general manager, has there been any request for any others to be held in open?
Yes, Mr Mayor. Councillor Rodder made an approach to the Executive Manager Strategy and Performance, requesting that item 12.5 be heard in open council. Councillor Rodder was advised that under Section 10A(2)(1) of the Local Government and under the procedure 7.47 that council must hold those matters in closed council.
Thank you. Anyone from the Yallery wish to have any matters heard in open that are in closed? Being the case, I'll call for a motion to move into closed council. Move Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Sutherland. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
create a lot of stress.
Councillors, can we back it open? I'll call on the General Manager to report on items in closed council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is the report from the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 11th of March 2025. Tonight in closed council you considered 5 items of business. For the first 4 items of business you adopted the recommendations as per the business paper. In relation to item 12.5 you resolved the following. That in relation to the report code of conduct matter, council not adopt the investigator's recommendation to formally censure Councillor Rodder for the breach under section 440G of the Act due to the seriousness of the breach that warrants further penalties to be considered by the Office of Local Government. 2, under section 7.58 of the procedures for the administration of the code of conduct, council formally censure Councillor Rodder for the breach under section 440G of the Local Government Act and the matter be referred to the Office of Local Government for further action under the misconduct provisions of the Local Government Act. Under sections, this is point 3, under section 7.59 of the procedures of the administration of the Code of Conduct, the grounds on which council is satisfied that the councillor should be censured are as follows. Allegation 1. On or about the 1st of August 2024, Councillor Rodder placed a post on his Facebook page that contained comments which could be seen as a personal attack on council staff and offensive and humiliating to them. They are included in particulars A and B. Additionally, the comments had the potential to bring disrepute to council staff and the council as a whole. The comments from the Facebook post comprising the particulars of this allegation are as follows. A, the size of council's comms team, aka the Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, and B, out-of-touch elected councillors and senior council staff. The finding of allegation 1 is found to be substantiated in relation to the particulars contained in A and B. The substantiated allegations constitute a breach of the Code of Conduct pursuant to the following clauses. Clause 3.1, you must not conduct yourself in a manner that A, is likely to bring the council or other council officials into disrepute. Clause 3.6, you must not harass or unlawfully discriminate against others. 3.7, for the purposes of this code, harassment is any form of behaviour towards a person that A, is not wanted by the person, B, offends, humiliates or intimidates the person, and C, creates a hostile environment. 7.6, you must not engage in any of the following inappropriate interaction. And at point H, councillors and administrators making personal attacks on council staff or engaging in conduct towards staff that would be contrary to the general conduct provisions in Part 3 of this code in public forums, including social media. And 8.28, you must not use social media to post or share comments, photos, videos, electronic recordings, or other information that is offensive, humiliating, threatening or intimidating to other council officials or those that deal with council.
Could I have a motion to accept? Councillor Budd, second by Councillor North.